My mother-in-law tricked my husband into leaving me and our twins, until we appeared on national TV. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel as you enjoy the story. Elena still remembered that morning clearly, the day her world collapsed with just a few words. If someone had told her a heart could break from words alone, she wouldn't have believed it. Not until she stood in their tiny apartment, holding her newborn twins, and watched the man she loved walk out the door. At one point she believed love could conquer anything. That as long as they were together, nothing could tear them apart. But she was wrong. Love, as she found out, was sometimes too weak to fight off ambition, greed, and the cold manipulation of a woman who called herself his mother. That was the day Elena realized she and her babies had never truly belonged in his world. She had met James on a crisp autumn afternoon, the streets of New York littered with golden leaves. Elena was a young interior designer fresh out of college, full of dreams and eager for a new start. James Dawson, on the other hand, was the heir to Dawson & Company, a powerful real estate empire with luxury properties from Manhattan to Los Angeles. But Elena hadn't known any of that when they first met. He was just a charming man at a sidewalk cafe with a warm smile and blue eyes that sparkled when he looked at her. There was no sign of the pressure he carried as the face of a powerful dynasty. They fell for each other quickly like many young couples do, swept up in passion and the illusion that love could solve everything. James didn't act like other wealthy men. He was humble, never flaunted his status, and always made Elena feel like she was the only person that mattered. For a while she believed he was different. They laughed often, made plans for the future and built a world that felt real and safe. When she found out she was pregnant, James was overjoyed. He hugged her tightly and whispered, "No matter what, I'll protect you and our baby." Elena believed him. But promises, she would later learn, meant little against a mother like Victoria Dawson. The first time Elena met her was just a week after James found out she was pregnant. Victoria had invited them to a luxurious party at the family estate. Chandeliers sparkled above, the walls lined with paintings Elena had only seen in art books. She felt out of place immediately. Women in designer gowns scrutinized her. Men barely noticed her presence. At the center of it all was Victoria, elegant, cold, sipping red wine and observing her like a hawk. "James tells me you're expecting," she said, her tone flat. "How unexpected." Elena's smile froze. She tightened her grip on James' hand, sensing the tension in his body. He forced a weak smile, murmuring something polite, but Elena saw the unease in his eyes. Victoria said nothing more that night, but Elena knew the battle had begun. Days later James started to change. He became distant, distracted, constantly receiving calls from his mother. Whenever Elena asked, he said, "It's nothing, babe. Everything's fine." But her instincts told her otherwise. By the time the twins arrived, James was still physically present, but emotionally gone. The warmth between them had turned into an invisible wall she couldn't break through. Then came that unforgettable morning. Elena was swaying gently, rocking her newborns in her arms, the soft coos of the babies filling the small apartment. When James walked in, she smiled without hesitation, believing they were about to begin a new chapter as a family. But her smile faded the second she saw his expression. His face was pale, eyes hollow, and his shoulders slumped like he carried the weight of the world. "We need to talk," he said softly. Elena's heart skipped. She laid the babies in their crib and turned to face him. "What's wrong, James?" she asked, trying to stay calm. He didn't meet her eyes. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. Elena blinked. "Can't do what?" James hesitated, then let out a shaky breath. "I have to leave." The words hit like a slap. The air turned icy. "Leave?" she repeated, her voice barely audible. "You're leaving us?" "Me?" "The babies." His silence was her answer. Elena's voice cracked. "Why?" "Because your mother said so." James looked at her then, eyes filled with guilt but not resistance. "She's right. You and we're from different worlds. I can't keep pretending it'll work." Elena's heart shattered. "So that's it? You walk away from your own children?" He said nothing. And then, without looking back, he walked out the door. Elena stood frozen, unable to move. Her body screamed at her to chase after him, to scream and beg, but her feet didn't move. Her voice didn't rise. She watched the door close and stay closed. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. The twins stirred in their crib, unaware of the abandonment that had just taken place. Elena turned toward them, her eyes brimming with tears. She whispered to no one, "How could he leave us?" But there was no answer. Just silence. That day she didn't just lose James. She lost the future she had dreamed of. The days that followed were a blur. Elena barely slept. She held her babies close, sometimes crying with them when they woke in the night. She couldn't eat. Couldn't think straight. The walls of the apartment felt like they were closing in on her. The pain of childbirth was still fresh in her body, but it was nothing compared to the pain inside her chest. She stared endlessly at the front door, half expecting it to open again. That James would return. Say he made a mistake. But that moment never came. Instead, the silence became her new reality. Friends called. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Neighbors knocked. But Elena didn't respond. She couldn't face the outside world. Not yet. Her pride was wounded, her spirit crushed. But one night, while the rain tapped gently on the window, something shifted. She watched her twins sleeping peacefully, wrapped in the handmade blankets she'd sewn herself. And in that quiet moment she realized, no one was coming to save her. James was gone. But her children were here. They needed her. She wiped her tears, stood up and whispered to herself, enough. It was time to fight back, for them and for herself. The next morning Elena began searching for jobs. Before her pregnancy, she had worked at a small interior design studio in Manhattan. But when she reached out to them, they had already replaced her. Every other place she applied to gave her the same excuses. "We need someone with more availability," or "You'll have trouble managing childcare." The rejections poured in like cold rain. Some were polite, others blunt. Each no chipped away at her confidence. But each time she looked at her twins, she found the will to keep going. She had no option but to survive. Elena began cutting every possible expense. She stopped ordering groceries online and walked with the stroller to a budget store 2 blocks away. She canceled every subscription, sold and used items, and lived on instant noodles and tea. Childcare was out of the question, so she managed everything herself. Late nights. Early mornings. Sleepless hours. She became a master at multitasking, rocking one baby with her foot while bottle-feeding the other and scrolling through freelance job boards. She applied for remote roles and design gigs, anything that allowed her to work from home. Weeks passed without results. Then finally a breakthrough. Elena received an offer to do freelance interior design for a small family-owned furniture business. The pay was modest, but it was something. She accepted it immediately. Every night after the twins were asleep, she worked. The only light in the room came from her computer screen. Her eyes burned. Her back ached. But she didn't complain. Slowly she started earning enough to cover diapers and groceries. She wasn't thriving yet, but she was surviving. Each time she finished a project and sent out an invoice, she whispered, "We're getting there, babies." One afternoon, while folding tiny baby clothes, Elena had an idea. She had noticed that baby clothes in stores were either too expensive or poorly made. Why not create her own? She remembered how her late mother had taught her to sew when she was young. Tiny doll dresses stitched with love. Elena borrowed a sewing machine from her neighbor downstairs and started crafting simple outfits. Soft onesies. Stretchy pants. Little cotton dresses. She dressed her twins in them, snapped pictures and posted them online. A few friends messaged her asking where they could buy them. That was her light bulb moment. With barely any savings, she bought fabric with whatever spare change she had left. She taught herself how to sew better, how to measure more precisely, how to use patterns. Her dining table became her workshop. Every nap time and quiet moment became an opportunity to create. At first, orders were slow. She messaged mom bloggers. No replies. She sent out samples. No feedback. One person placed an order, only to cancel it the next day. Doubts crept in again. But one night, as she looked at her babies sleeping in clothes she had made, she said aloud, "No one's going to take this from me." Elena shifted her strategy. She built a small website using a free template, took clearer photos of her products with better lighting, and wrote blog posts about her journey, being a single mother, starting over and creating clothes from scratch. She joined online parenting groups and forums, not to promote at first, but to share stories and encourage other mothers. Slowly, interest began to build. Her inbox pinged with a message. "Hi, I saw your baby outfits. Can I place an order?" Elena blinked in disbelief. Her first real customer, a young mom from Chicago. She cried when she received the payment notification. That first sale lit a fire in her. Orders started coming in slowly at first, then steadily. Mothers sent photos of their babies wearing her designs. "So soft and lovely," one message read. "Thank you for making something beautiful and affordable," said another. Elena named her brand Little Joys because that's what her twins had given her, a reason to rise from the ashes. Her apartment transformed. Rolls of fabric leaned against walls. Thread spools cluttered every corner. She packed orders between diaper changes. She designed while her babies napped. She worked at night, her fingers sore but her heart full. Months passed in a blur of sleepless nights and growing momentum. One morning she received a message that made her gasp. A popular Instagram mom had discovered her shop and posted a glowing review. "I just received a package from @littlejoys_babies and I'm obsessed." Overnight, Elena's shop blew up. She received over 100 orders in one weekend. She couldn't manage it alone. She called her friend Nora from down the hall to help pack boxes, fold invoices and calm the crying twins. It was chaos, but it was beautiful. Her tiny dream was finally becoming something real. With some of the profit, Elena rented a small workspace a few blocks away. A place where she could sew in peace and store materials without worrying about babies crawling into piles of fabric. She hired a local seamstress, Gloria, who had once worked in a factory but was now retired. "You remind me of myself at your age," Gloria smiled. They worked together every day, humming to soft music and creating with love. Elena wasn't just making clothes anymore. She was building a future. Her brand was gaining recognition and soon Little Joys was featured on 2 parenting blogs. One night, while Elena sat sewing a batch of custom holiday outfits, she received an unexpected email. A major mother and baby retail chain in New York had seen her story online and wanted to carry her designs. She reread the email 3 times, her hands trembling. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what I've been working for." She walked over to the twins' room and looked at them sleeping peacefully. "We made it, babies," she said through tears. She didn't scream. She didn't jump. Instead, she felt calm. For the first time in years, she believed everything was going to be okay. The partnership with the retail chain changed everything. Elena's clothes hit shelves in select stores and orders doubled again. She moved her children into a larger apartment, sunny, bright, and filled with laughter. She had enough room for a home office and a nursery. Her children had a backyard now, something she never thought she could give them. Every morning she made breakfast with a smile. Every night she tucked them in with bedtime stories. Some true, some made up, but always ending with a lesson about courage and love. Elena was not just surviving anymore. She was thriving. It had been over 3 years since James left. Elena no longer cried when she remembered him. She no longer stayed up wondering if he would come back. He had vanished completely after that morning, like a ghost fading into fog. But one afternoon, while scrolling through her work emails, a message came through. "Hi, it's James. I was wondering if we could talk." Her hand froze on the mouse. Her chest tightened, not from pain, but from surprise. She didn't reply. Not then. She stared at the message, then closed her laptop. He had a business to run and kids to feed. Weeks passed. The message stayed unread. Elena focused on preparing her next product launch, spring-themed baby rompers with floral stitching. One Sunday she took her kids to the park. It was warm and breezy. The twins giggled as they chased butterflies. Elena sat on a bench, sipping iced tea, her mind at peace. Then she felt someone watching her. She turned slowly and there he was. James. Standing a few feet away, hands in his pockets, eyes shadowed with time and regret. He looked thinner, older, and completely unsure of himself. Their eyes met. Elena said nothing. She simply waited. James walked over slowly. "Hi," he said. Elena nodded. "Hi." He gestured to the kids. "They've grown," she replied. "You weren't here to see it." Silence stretched between them. "I saw your interview," he said. "You're doing incredible things." Elena didn't smile. She folded her arms. "Why are you here, James?" He hesitated. "To say I'm sorry. Not to come back, not to make things worse. I regret leaving." Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and said, "I stopped needing your apology a long time ago." James flinched but nodded. I understand. I don't hate you, she added, her voice calm. But you're not part of my life anymore. I built this without you. James swallowed hard. I know. And I'm proud of you. You're amazing. Elena looked away toward her children. They don't know you. They don't ask about you. And that's probably for the best. James nodded again. I just wanted to say sorry. Elena finally offered a small, peaceful smile. Thank you. Now please let us enjoy our day. She turned and walked away, her children running into her arms. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Her chapter with James was finally closed. Back at home that evening, Elena sat on the couch with her children, the soft hum of their favorite cartoon playing in the background. She watched them giggle and lean on each other, their bond strong and pure. She felt no sadness, no ache for the past, only gratitude for the present. Later that night, after they had gone to bed, she sat at her desk reviewing her latest contracts. Her company Little Joys was expanding into Canada. Her team had grown. What began as a one-woman hustle in a cramped apartment had become a real company. Elena, once broken and abandoned, was now CEO of her own success. She paused and looked around her home. It was warm, filled with colors, art, and memories. Every corner spoke of love, effort, and healing. On the wall hung a framed photo of her and her twins on the day they opened their first physical store. Beneath it was a quote she had typed out and hung years ago. Don't wait for someone to rescue you, rescue yourself. Elena smiled. The truth of those words had carried her through dark moments, and now they were part of her foundation. She no longer needed approval. She no longer needed closure. She had already written her ending. News of James's decision to leave his inheritance behind reached her weeks later. He had apparently walked away from the Dawson estate, from the company, from everything his mother had groomed him to protect. It didn't change anything for Elena. She felt no vindication, only quiet confirmation. People make choices. Some build. Some abandon. She simply chose to rise. James had made his decisions and so had she. And while he was trying to rebuild from his mistakes, Elena had long since moved forward, carrying with her not anger, but strength. One afternoon, while taking a walk with her kids through the city, a woman stopped her. Excuse me, are you the founder of Little Joys? Elena smiled and nodded. Your story changed me, the woman said, emotion in her voice. I was in a dark place after my divorce, but your interview made me believe I could start over too. Elena was stunned. Thank you, she replied quietly. As the woman walked away, Elena turned to her children. Let's get ice cream, she grinned. They cheered, racing ahead. She followed behind, realizing she hadn't just built a business, she'd sparked hope in others too. That night, as Elena tucked her children into bed, her daughter looked up and asked, Mommy, do you think we're lucky? Elena brushed her hair back and kissed her forehead. We're more than lucky, sweetheart. We're strong. We're brave. And we made our own luck. She turned off the light and stepped into the hallway, her heart calm. Elena had once been left behind, discarded, underestimated. But now she stood tall, an unstoppable woman, a loving mother, and a self-made success. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't chasing happiness. She was living it. Moral lesson. Life may break you, but your decision to rise determines your future. You don't need someone to complete your story. You are enough to write your own powerful ending.